And apparently, I've forgotten how to use the equipment. Welcome in, everybody. Hello, 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 and welcome to our Thursday stream, what I like to call the Be Great podcast. How are you guys doing? It's good to see you. Hello, Emily. Hello, Kitty Cat. Welcome in. Welcome in to everybody who might be watching on YouTube. And we're not live on TikTok this week. So, black shirt orf, let's go. Yes, I know. Black shirt on black share doesn't work, but it's the Idea Academy shirt. So, and my camera keeps wanting to focus on my chair. I don't know. There's something on my chair that looks like a face. I love it. Let's go. So, yeah. So anyway, hello and welcome in to episode 25 of the Be Great podcast, formerly known as hashtag Get Branded, exactly. Formerly known as the Idea Academy podcast, the Idea Training Academy. My name is Andrew Burkham, and I am a speaker. I am an author, and I am a coach to people who are driven by mission, who believe that they have great things to do in the world. And every week we get together. I'm also the founder and CEO of the Idea Training Academy, and that is a company that exists for the purpose of introducing people to their best selves. So if you're looking to become your best self, if you are looking for ways to build better lives for you and the people around you, then you're in the right place, because every week we do this for 1 hour every week. We sit here and we talk about the things that are going to make your life better. And I've got one this week that's big for me. I know Emily just said, "Hey, I need to hear this," but I'm not joking when I say I wrote this today because I needed to hear it. Let me start with a question. Have you ever had one of those days where you're doing everything that you can? You are checking all the boxes. You've crossed everything off of the to-do list. Like, you're showing up for everybody. But deep down, you still feel the only way I can describe it is heavy. You still feel heavy. Like you're dragging something invisible behind you. Have you ever had one? Yes? Okay, good. I'm glad that's resonating. Um, because I do. And I think that when we have these days, the first thing that we go to is absolutely, okay, good, good. I'm glad that I'm not the only one. But hear me out, because I think that when we have these days, the first thing we go to is maybe that we're doing too much. We start to think that, we're just overwhelmed, we're just overloaded. But what I'm thinking about today is the fact that sometimes we're carrying things that were not ours to begin with. And I've had some conversations over the last couple of weeks that have made me really examine that. The things that we carry with us that aren't really ours to carry. So today I want to talk about why we're so tired. And not just physically, but emotionally and honestly spiritually, right? Something deep in our souls gets tired. And as usual, I don't just want to talk about it because I'm not a therapist. I always like to say I'm not a licensed anything. So I'm not a therapist. I don't want to just talk about it. What I want to do is I want to I want to walk us through how we can create some kind of clarity on what we're actually responsible for, and then how we can let go of the rest. First thing I go to is what's wrong with me instead of thinking about how can I adjust my perspective. Emily, listen, let me just be very honest with you. That level of self-awareness that says, "Hey, I'm going to a place where I'm automatically tending to blame myself or saying that there's something wrong for me," that's a really important first step, because it's very probable that, I mean, well, we all have things to work on. We all have things to get better at. I'm going to get into that in just a little bit. But while we all have those things, our first stop shouldn't be what's wrong with me, right? Our first stop should be what can I own and what can I let go? So, welcome to the show, everybody. I am very glad that you are here. I want to talk about this thing that I've kind of sort of called the responsibility paradox. You know what a paradox is? It's where two things seem to be kind of true at the same time, but they're opposites, right? And my wife and I were talking this week about this kind of control spectrum, right? And this is a pattern that I see all the time. I've seen it in the last week with two different people. And I think that people have a tendency to live at one end or another of a spectrum. See, some people live in this kind of passive resignation mode, right? And these are the people who in your life will tell you, well, if it's meant to be, then it will be, right? These are the people who will tell you, oh, when somebody dies tragically, they'll use the phrase, it was just their time. It was just their time. These are the people who will say, well, if the universe wants it, right? Or maybe, maybe if they're religious, they'll say, well, if it's the will of God, right, then it's going to happen. But if they're not religious, they'll just use God by a different name, and they'll say, oh, it's just the universe. If the universe wants it, then it is. Like my coach told me, control what you can. That's exactly right. Control what you can. That's good coaching, Emily. I like that. So that's the one end of the spectrum is people who are just like, well, if it's going to be, it's going to be, right? All I can do is go along for the ride. And then there's other people who live in this kind of hyper control mode. And these people feel like they if they don't do it all, it won't get done. Do you know these people? Are you one of these people? You might be one of these people. You feel like if I don't do it all, it won't get done. And so they're like holding on, like when you're on that roller coaster and you're holding on, and it's called white knuckles because you get the white knuckles. These are people who are just white knuckling their way through life. But this week, what I was thinking about was that these two things have chat. Guess what? What is it? Cough drops. What is it? These two things have something that is in common, and it is this, and this is it's weird to say. Well, happy birthday, cough drops. Happy birthday to you, my friend. Everybody in chat, give your daily cough drops a little happy birthday love. That's awesome. So glad you joined us on your birthday. That's super cool. We're talking about this paradox, right? These two ideas. Some people who are just kind of resigned to let the universe do what it's going to do to them, and other people who feel like they just have to control everything around them. But the thing that surprised me when I thought about it was that these two approaches, even though they're like super far ends of that spectrum, right, is that what they have in common, what puts them on a spectrum, is that they both come from powerlessness. They both come from this sense that I don't have control over anything. And so we either believe that we have no control, and so we just don't try to control anything, or we believe that everything is out of our control. And so we try to do our best to control everything. And the thing that I see in the people that I see with this is that neither one of these really leads us to peace. There's they just lead to this sort of unhealthy tension, and I believe there are healthy tensions in the universe, but both of these lead to this sort of unhealthy tension where you're always fighting against the way that things are trying to move. And eventually what happens is that we burn out or we give up at whatever it is we're trying to do. So I want to talk about how maybe not to live at the ends of the spectrum. Maybe not be the person who says, "Well, it's just going to happen. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. If it's not going to happen, I don't have any control over it." And then also not to be the person who says, "Well, I'm going to do everything that I can to make everything happen," right? As if the weight of the entire world is on my shoulders. So I want to start with the question. And the question that I want you to start with is this one. What's really mine to carry? Because here's the truth, a lot of the weight that we feel isn't happening, it's not coming from what's happening right now, right? I've had some conversations with some of you about this. A lot of the weight that we carry isn't from what's going on right now. It's actually from stuff that we picked up in past seasons of our life. Old roles that we played with other people, old wounds, old expectations. And we take all of this stuff that we've accumulated over time, we drag it with us everywhere we go. And I think that so much of it isn't ours to carry. And we need a way to determine the difference. So here's a little framework I've been working on just to help you with a little reset. Um, the first thing, right? The first step is to identify what you can and cannot control. So if you any of you have ever been in a coaching session with me at all, and some of you have, you know that one of the first things I'm always going to tell you to focus on is what can I control? Not what's out of my control, but what can I control? You can imagine your life. The metaphor that I thought of this morning was it's like a backpack. You just imagine that your life is kind of like a backpack. And in this backpack, some things in it are tools, right? There are things that you need. There are things that help you move forward. But some things are not tools. They're just weight. In my book, which is called Be Great, which is coming out in December of this year, in Be Great, there's a part of the book where I talk about my dad. And I love my dad. My dad's amazing. He's a super cool guy. Love this man to death. But the one thing about my dad that I talk about in this book is that my dad loves the idea of the worst case scenario. He loves the idea of what's the worst that could happen, right? And we've made fun of him for years about this. He collected all those. There used to be a whole series of like worst case scenario books, and he collected all those. I think we even gave him a board game one year that was branded that way with the worst case scenario. And that was, that was just his thing for years. And one of the things that he would do is he always used to have these emergency rain ponchos. Do you know what these things are? They're these plastic rain ponchos that you can fold up real small, and you can put them into, you can tuck them in a pocket or a purse or a pouch or whatever you have. And he would carry these things all over the place. And the thing is, the metaphor that I use is if you're carrying around an umbrella all the time because it might rain, then on the day that it rains, you're going to be set. It's going to be awesome. But how many days that it's not raining are you just going to be carrying something around that's not serving a purpose and is taking up space? And even though that little rain poncho that my dad had, even though it didn't take up much space, how do we know that it's not edging something else out that we actually might need? So the big picture here is to determine what in the backpack is a tool that we're actually going to need to work through the things that are important for us and what things are just holding us down. I was reading in the Bible this morning from Hebrews 12, Hebrews 12:1, and there's this verse, and if spirituality is not your thing, just hang in because there's a tie here. Because I love what this says. In Hebrews 12:1, it says, "Let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles and run with perseverance the race that's marked out for us." Now, there's a couple things that I want you to recognize here, right? The couple of things that I want you to recognize are, first of all, that there's a race that's marked out for you. This verse it's not telling you to run somebody else's race. It's not telling you to run from something. It's suggesting that you personally have something that's marked out for you. And I believe that. I believe that it may not be descriptive. I'm not a big believer that everybody's got one thing that they're destined to do or one impact that they're destined to make. It may not be that. But I believe that you were born and you have acquired certain skills and talents and gifts and relationships and networks. And all of these things are leading you towards something great. So you have to run the race that's marked out for you, not the race that somebody else tells you should be running. Not the race that you think you should be running, not the race that your boss or your parents or your past wants you to run, but the race that's going to get you to your highest impact, to the thing that's most important, to the best version of yourself. But the two other things that I want to look at here are that there's this, let us throw off everything that hinders. And the word here that's everything that hinders, the word is, it's a Greek word that's called, it's ogkos. And this word means, it just means bulk. It means stuff that slows you down. The word, in fact, was used for tumors, right? It's just stuff. It's not stuff that's of any value. It's just stuff that we're carrying. Because why? Because we don't know. So all of that stuff that slows you down, and you might be carrying things, you might even be carrying things that aren't bad. They're just heavy and they're not helping you run. So you need to determine what's slowing you down. And then the second one is the sin that so easily entangles. And that's the word entangles is this idea that it's clinging to you, that it's wrapped around you. Now, again, without getting too deep into theology, the concept of, the easiest way to understand the concept of sin, if you want to understand it in a truly, biblical, practical way, if you don't want to just take it as like, hey, here's all of the bad things, if you want to really understand what the Bible's talking about when it talks about sin, here's what it is. Sin is anything that leads you away from the design, from the way that you were designed. So human beings were designed in a certain way. They were designed for a purpose. They were designed with a purpose. Anything that breaks that purpose is what the Bible would define as sin. So that's the same for you, right? You've got a best future, you've got a best self, you've got a place that you're going. Anything that causes deviation from that, we could call it sin. Again, I don't want the religious terminology to get in the way. What I want you to see is that sometimes we get so diverted, we get so off course from the right future, the best future, the place that we need to go, that we get caught up, we get entangled. So we're being weighed down by all this stuff we're carrying around from our past, and then we're entangled in everybody else's opinion of where we need to be going. And what this verse in Hebrews is talking about is that we don't need to run faster. We don't need to run harder. We need to run lighter, right? Because the real core of Christianity, if we take the metaphor, the real core of it is not just like you're good or you're bad. It's really not about good and evil. It's not about, hey, you're going to heaven or you're going to hell, right? All of those things play into it, but it really is, you were designed for a purpose. You were designed as a fully human, fully powerful, fully empowered being in the universe. And something about that breaks in our lives. And how do you get back to being the most fully human, the most powerful, the best version of yourself, right? How do we get there? Hey, here, but my internet connection is pants. The butt part. Hey, it is Steel. It's good to see you, my man. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. So listen, you were created for a race, and you cannot run it if your pack is full of stuff. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying out of this whole theological diatribe. God didn't ask you to carry extra stuff. Life doesn't ask you to carry extra stuff. I am not asking you to carry extra stuff. If anyone is asking you to carry extra stuff, you have to ask yourself, who is that person? And the answer is probably it's you, right? So step one is you got to figure out what's really necessary for you to carry. And then step two is you've got to release the rest, which is the hard part, right? We think that letting go means failure because we think that a lot of times, we get I'll talk about working geniuses in a minute here. Don't worry. But a lot of times we get so tenacity focused. We get so into like finishing things or having closure, right? Aren't we all about having closure? That we think of that letting go of things is actually failure, but it's not. It actually is its own version of closure. It it's clarity, it's maturity. It's saying I don't have to live in that place anymore. There's a better place that is without that. They call it baggage for a reason. You got it, Steele. You got it 100%. And I also want to specify that letting go doesn't mean pretending that it didn't happen, right? Because the bad stuff that happened, it happened 100%. It happened. But here's where I differ from a lot of people that you're going to listen to. So this is the part where you're either in or you're out, right? You're either going to write me off and you're going to say, "Hey, this guy's the worst," or maybe you're going to say, "Oh, maybe that is the perspective," because the difference between me and a lot of people is this. I don't want you to pretend the bad stuff didn't happen. I do want you to refuse to let it decide your direction. I want you to know that the stuff that you went through, it was real and it was painful and it might still be painful. There might be still aftershocks. You might still deal with things, but I want you to know that your ability to create a better future is not in the hands of the people who hurt you. It's not in the hands of the people who are toxic to you. It's not in the hands of the people who abused you. It's not in the hands of the people who want to tell you who you are. It's not in the hands of the people who want to hate on you or want to drag you down. Your future, your direction is in your hands. Say it louder for those in the back. Exactly. You're you're in control. You have the ability to decide. So yeah, the bad stuff happened, but no, it's not your future. It's your past. And we call it that for a reason because it's not here now. And maybe it is time for us to drop some of that. Maybe it's time to drop that guilt that we've been rehearsing. Don't you do that? Don't you have that moment where you replay things over and over and over in your head? I am still replaying a moment from yeah, sometimes I'm working on it, but sometimes I still replay a moment from the 5th literally from the 5th grade where I said something dumb and I got called out on it and I was really embarrassed, right? Because it was important for me to say the right thing. Like when I was growing up, it was important for me to be the person who was right, to be the person who was smart. Obviously, those of you who know me well know that I've given the smart part up. Uh, but it was really important for me. And so sometimes I rehearse that moment of guilt, that moment of shame. So riddle me this. How is the past supposed to define us, but we also aren't our past? Or am I wrong for using that analogy? So, Emily, what I would say is that our past doesn't define us. That's not to say that it doesn't affect us, right? So your past doesn't define you unless you let it define you, which we do, right? I like just what I was talking about. You know, if I take that moment from 5th grade where I said something stupid and I just go, "You know what? I'm stupid." Then that's letting my past define me or to take it to a less trivial place, right? I've told a lot of you that a lot of my life I felt like I was lazy because I'm just really bad at getting things done. Sometimes I'm bad at follow up and I have to work really hard at all of that stuff. And so the past me said, "Hey, you're lazy." Or another example, I talked about how I got fired from my first leadership job when I was in my early 20s. And I was told when I was fired, I was told to my face, "You don't have what it takes to be a leader." And if I let those moments define me, then I'm I'm allowing those moments and those people who spoke into those moments to tell me who I am, right? But if I take those moments and I say, those are things that happened to me. Those are events that I was present for. Yeah, there are events that in some cases I participated in. I made the wrong decision. I made the wrong call. I violated, what should have been my character. My judgment was bad. But I can say that is not who I am, and it is not who I will become. I will not allow them to define me, right? So it's not that the past defines us, it's that it happens to us. It's a part of us, but it's not the only part. And the part that I want to focus on is the part that moves forward. So I want you to start dropping that guilt that you're rehearsing. I want you to drop the identity that somebody else gave you. What are you carrying around that somebody else has told you you are, right? When I was growing up, one thing, you know what? I will even use. I was listening to a parent talk to their child, uh, teenage kid, older kid, and the kid was upset because they didn't get something, at school, like they didn't get some kind of not an award, but some kind of recognition that they should have gotten. And I listened to the parent, and the parent said was telling this person, "That's really arrogant. You're really arrogant because to think that you deserve that." And all I could think was, you're labeling this kid, and you're telling that kid what their identity is. You're not teaching them a lesson about character. You're actually telling them what their identity is. So maybe it's time for you to let go of the identity that somebody else gave you because they don't have the right to do it, right? They can call you out on your behavior, right? I can tell you, hey, you're behaving in a way that doesn't seem consistent with your character, or you're behaving in a way that violates what the community expects of you, or you're behaving in a way that I don't like, right? I can tell you those things, but what I can't tell you is who you are. And I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but I'll go back to what I talk about a lot, which is one of our problems in the society. The reason the I in idea is identity is that one of the problems with us today is that we like to substitute labels for our identity. We like to call ourselves things. We like to slap on diagnoses. We're really diagnosis heavy in this society right now. So we like to slap diagnoses on ourselves instead of really working to figure out who we are. But don't let somebody else do that to you. Don't let somebody else's label be who you are. So it may be time to drop that. It may be time to drop your responsibility for somebody else's healing. And I know for you enablers out there, you guys who have the genius of enablement like me, or for you people who have the frequency, your primary frequency is the frequency of the healer. It's really important to remember that the shadow of the healer is the cipher. The shadow of the healer is the person who believes they are the source of healing. I want you to know right now that you are not the source of someone else's healing. You're not responsible for their healing. You can help facilitate it, but you can't do that healing for them. And you are not and never will be the source of that healing, right? So maybe it's time for you to drop that responsibility. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to give you permission. And I know, who am I? But I'm going to do it because if somebody can tell you that you are arrogant, if somebody's going to tell you that you are a bad person or that you're a loser or that you are, so, whatever else, if somebody can tell you those things, then I can tell you this: you don't have to carry it anymore. You can let it go. It's not going to go away, but you can let it go. How do you find out what you are? You mentioned healers, challengers, etc. before. How does one know where they stand? Emily, that's a good question. There's actually an assessment that you can take. It is the 7 frequencies of communication frequency from Erwin Raphael McManus, and I will post the after the show. I will post the um, I'll post the place where you can go to get it. It's not tremendously expensive. It's a pretty inexpensive assessment, but it's really good. I find it harder to let go of the labels I give myself than the labels other people give me. That's actually a good point, Patch, and thank you so much for bringing that up because here's the problem, right? Is that when we internalize all of our processes, then we really quickly begin to give ourselves labels. We really quickly start to call ourselves things like lazy, right? Or um, irresponsible, right? Or unlovable, or unfriendly, or even dumb things like not a morning person, right? We call all of ourselves those things, but I think the way to combat that is to start to determine who you want to be, right? Figure out who it is that you want to be, even if you're not that person right now, and you're not that person right now. I feel seen. Head of steel. All right. We've touched a nerve. That's good. Let's ride with this. So start by figuring out who you want to be. Okay. And be aspirational. Think of who that great person is. That first coaching session, I always ask people, let's assume that at the end of a year, you get all the coaching and all of the resources and all of the things that you want. And at the end of that time, what does your life look like? Who are you? So figure that. I've totally had to review all my I am statements and it's hard. And that's it. And so that's what it is. And so you'll look at that future better version of yourself and you say, that's who, what is that person? That person is responsible. That person is disciplined. That person is healthy. Whatever it is, right? You go down the list. And then you start to relabel yourself. And I would even write these down someplace and maybe even stick them up on the mirror, right? I have a life verse written on my mirror. That's Jeremiah 29. Um, so whatever it is, but maybe write them up on your mirror, maybe stick them up, on your monitor, or use sticky notes or whatever else. But put those labels, those new labels. Start to reprogram yourself. Your brain can be rewired. Brains are crazy. It's really easy to ride with the wiring we've got, but you can rewire it. So let go of that stuff. Don't carry it anymore. Start to relabel yourself. Start to tell yourself who you are in light of who you're going to be, right? And then the third step in this, so we went through the kind of the first two steps of my little framework, right? Which, to recap, are identify what you can and cannot control, number one. Number two was practice releasing the rest. And then number three is it kind of makes sense, right? Take action on what is yours. Because once your hands are free of all of that stuff, and I know that's a process, right? It's not all going to go at once, but once your hands are free of that stuff, then you can finally grab the things that actually do matter. So what is yours to carry? What is really yours? I'll tell you. Your character. That's yours to carry. Who you really are, that identity, that's yours to carry. Your choices are yours to carry. So the decisions you make and the actions you take, those are yours to carry. Your assignment, right? Your mission, that's yours to carry. That is yours. It has been safeguarded to you. It is your responsibility. Your response to other people is yours to carry. Those things are yours. The rest is not yours. Can you elaborate on what is yours? Oh, sorry. So yeah, so the things that are yours are your character, your choices, your mission, and your response. Those four things. Everything else is not yours to carry. You know what? Here's the thing. Even the effects of some of the things that you've done in the past, they're not yours to carry. And I'm not saying that you should absolve yourself of guilt completely over those things, because we need there's a healthy level of guilt, right? That says I did bad stuff. I did stuff that I'm not proud of. It's okay to like have that, because we need that tension to keep us from doing bad stuff again. But if you've progressed past that, if you've progressed out of it, then let it just be at that tension. Don't let it be defining, right? Unless that definition is, I'm going to be better than that. Because once you know the difference between what is yours to carry and what isn't yours to carry, then you can stop wasting your energy and you can start moving forward and moving forward with purpose. Now, it wouldn't be appropriate if I didn't somehow connect all of this back to the IDEA framework, IDEA, right? That's the framework. That's my core framework. It's what I go on. It's what I teach. It's what I coach. And so I'm gonna tie this back for you. So we're going to start with the I, which is identity. And I've talked a lot about this already, but this is really where everything starts, right? You need to know who you are. And I want to reiterate, not who people expect you to be, not who people tell you you are. You need to know who you really are. Not the label, not the code, not the thing. I saw a thing on Substack this last week. By the way, Substack is up here. Please follow and read my Substack. It's more of this, but weekly. And you get it in either audio form if you prefer to listen to me, or if you prefer to read, it's in readable form as well. But I saw a post on Substack this last week, and this person was like, "Oh, I'm getting started, and I am, just somebody who is a a neurodivergent author who is this, and I thought, man, again, this is no knock about like recognizing your neurodivergence. Heaven knows, I've had plenty of that in my life, but why are we so apt to open with our labels? Why am I so apt to tell you how I'm labeled, right? It just it seems like we're substituting the label for who we really are, right? So you got to know who you are. You got to not substitute a label. And you've got to separate that from who someone else wants you to be. And then the D in IDEA is disciplines. And these are your daily tools, right? They're the things that help you keep your pack light. You create disciplines to help you keep the things in the backpack, the right things in the backpack. Your disciplines are the tools that you use. So your daily, your whatever your rituals are. For me, there's an extensive morning ritual, right? Your time of meditation or mindfulness that you're using, maybe your time of spiritual awareness, right? Your time of physical, workout, because we're whole bodied, we're complete creatures. We're mind, body, and soul. We have to feed all of those things. Your diet, right? All of those things. So your disciplines, those are the things that help you keep yourself pointed in the right direction. Those are the tools you need in your backpack. And then execution, right, which is the E, and this is the focused movement, right? This is acting on what's actually yours. So it's the action is execution. And then accountability, right? The A is accountability, which is alignment. And that's staying true to the person you become. And we need other people to help us stay true to that. And we need to build ways to keep ourselves true to that inside. But we also need help from other people because you weren't made to carry everything. You were made to carry, I believe, you were made to carry what God actually put in your hands. Now, if you don't want to bring God into it, that's okay. You can still say, I was made to carry what's going to take me to my best future. Excuse me. Because that's the evolutionary imperative, if you want to take it that way. The evolutionary imperative isn't just to like survive. For humans, it's to do better than survival. It's to create a better level of survival. I'm going to catch up because I see a thick chat here. I think I felt like I had to carry so much because the people I would pour into, I felt connected so much that when they messed up, I instead felt we messed up. I've been working on not attaching myself to people's mistakes, big or small, and not feeling like I have to carry the burden of their mistakes, if that makes sense. I think that has been the hardest discipline that I'm still actively teaching myself. Again, back to that ground rule of control what I can and let go of what I can't. Emily, you've got it exactly right. You're 100% right. And you may not feel like you're there, and you probably aren't, right? I mean, let's be honest. I'm not there every day. And I talk about that. I mean, I talk to you guys about this once a week, but I mean, I talk about this all the time. This is, you can ask my wife and my kids, this stuff is all I talk about. And I still fall short. I still have to work on that daily discipline. Just the same way I got to go get on the stupid treadmill, right? Every day. I got to work so hard at not connecting myself to other people's stuff. And that's that thing inside us that says when we're close to somebody that, we become attached to all of their things. And, I'm going to tell you, right? I don't know. I hope everyone in your life is telling you, but I'm going to tell you that while we always can learn lessons from the bad stuff, right? The bad stuff that we make happen, the bad stuff that happens to us, or the bad stuff that we just happen to be there for. While we can always learn from that, the only way forward is to understand that it's not part of who we are, right? Even the bad stuff that you did, it doesn't have to be part of who you are. You can move on from it. And I know we live in a super cancely culture and there's a degree to which, right, we got to hold people accountable for things. A is accountability after all. I get it. But I think a byproduct of that is we start to judge ourselves with that own lens, that same lens rather. We start to judge ourselves through the lens that says we are our worst moments. And listen, if this is all you take away from today, please just hear. You are not your worst moment. You were there for it. You might have caused it, and you should make up for it if you can. But that's not who you are. That doesn't have to be who you are. So I love that you're doing that work, right? You just got to keep at it. It's going to be hard. It's going to take a long time, but you'll get there. I know you will. You're taking all the right steps. I know you are. So let me add a bonus layer to this real quick because the idea framework is mine, but I'm not the only person who has framework. So I want to throw the working genius into it as well and talk to you about how this ties into the working genius model. And those of you who have listened to me for a while or worked with me at all know that I like to use the 6 types of working genius as a pathway towards coaching and counseling, not counseling, the other thing that I do, consulting. Thank you. I don't do counseling. I'm not that's not my thing, but I do coaching and consulting. And 6 types of working genius just says that there are 6 different types of work. There's wonder, which is all about asking the big questions and the question behind the question and figuring out the problems. There's invention, which is all about solving the problems, right? Coming up with creative solutions. There's discernment, which is all about recognizing patterns and evaluating those solutions and really making sure that they're perfected. There is galvanizing, which is about rallying people around and getting them directed. There is enablement, which is about coming alongside people and helping them and encouraging them. And there's tenacity, which is getting things done, getting things over the finish line. So there's all 6 of those working geniuses. And the way they kind of layer into this, excuse me, water. The way they kind of layer into this is you can employ those geniuses in order to kind of walk your way through. So the genius of wonder, which is the questioning genius, it helps us pause and look at things from a very, very high level. And so one of the reasons that we get down on ourselves or we get really attached to situations that we shouldn't, or we have a hard time letting go, is because we're looking at everything from ground level. You know that old saying, you can't see the forest for the trees, right? If you're in the middle of a dense forest, all you're seeing is trees. But if you're in an airplane flying above it, you look down and you have perspective. So the genius of wonder is the one that we need to employ when we feel like we're stuck down in the weeds. Hey, Alcazar, how are you doing? Welcome in. So when you do feel that, stop and ask, what's really going on here? See how far you can zoom out. See how small you can see the problem. And see if you could figure out the details from that high level. And the discernment genius, the genius of discernment, helps give you clarity. right? It helps you go. So the question you're going to ask here is, what's worth my energy? Of all of these things that I'm feeling or thinking or seeing or experiencing, what's actually worth my energy and what's not? And then enablement and tenacity, right, which are the low level geniuses that help us implement things. Those help us move forward on what really matters, not just what feels urgent. And the reason I bring enablement into that is because I do want you to know, as much as you own your character, you own your choices, you own your decisions, you own your identity. As much as you own those things, nothing great happens without other people. There's no great achievement that's ever happened that wasn't done for other people. Because if you achieve great things only for yourself, it's gone with you and no one will ever talk about it. And so, all of the great inventions, all of the great moments, all of the great historical things that we talk about, all of those were done in the context of other people. So, when you're moving forward, make sure you're moving forward for yourself and with yourself, but for other people, right? With the intention to make the lives of other people better as well around you. So, that's kind of what I have for you this week. But let me just leave you kind of with this little brief summary, if you will. As a WI, some of those are just so hard. I know, Emily. So as a WI, right? You're often seeing things from a problematic standpoint. That's part of it, right? Is that WI is always asking, what's the problem? What's the solution? What's the problem? What's the solution? And so when it gets down sometimes to those things that involve tracking with other people, it can be really, really hard for you or people like you a lot of times because you are thinking problem solution and other people may have other geniuses. They may be thinking implementation, right? They may be thinking about activation, about how we get things moving, right? And you're always thinking of like, what did we miss? What did we miss? What else is here? And that's really hard. So just don't ever let go of that because it's your strength. Your strength is in seeing the things that other people don't see. But keep in mind that all work is six-letter work. We always have to get things done. Got a jet later, taters. All right, and take care, Head of Steel. We'll see you next time. We're wrapping up anyway. We're almost done. So here's my final thought. You don't need more control. You've got all the control you need. You need more clarity, and you don't need to carry more. You need to carry less, and you don't need to work harder. You need to run lighter. Right? Back to Hebrews 12. It doesn't say hustle. I know we love hustle, but it's not about hustle. What it says is it says throw it off. Get rid of it. Toss the baggage. Because once you get rid of the baggage, then you'll know what you can really control, what your hands on, what your hands are on. So here is your invitation. What's something you're carrying right now that it's time to set down? And there may be things that you're not ready to set down, but what are you carrying right now that you can? What are you carrying right now that it's time? Because you know it, don't you? You know it's time. It's like that old pair of shoes, and you love those pair of shoes, right? But I mean, you look at those things, and the sole is flapping off the end. It looks like it's talks when you walk, and there's holes in it, and it's stained, and the laces are all worn out. You know when it's time to let that go, right? There's something in your life right now that you know that it's time to let it go. So I want you to think. You don't have to tell me, but I want you to think about what that is and how you're going to set it down. And if this resonated with you, if this talk today was kind of in line with where you're at, then I want to invite you. I am hosting a free webinar, and I think it's probably been popping up. Yeah, it's been popping up probably every 5 minutes uh, throughout the course. But I am hosting a free webinar on this Saturday called "What Am I Even Doing?" It's a mission clarity session for the overwhelmed, and I'm going to go deeper into a lot of this stuff that's adjacent to this: what to carry, what to drop, how to find your lane, and how to move forward. Really, it's all about how to really define your mission, and how to clarify what your mission is. And so there's a link there. It's a Zoom link. This meeting will be on Zoom. No, you don't have to turn your camera on, but there is a Zoom link there. So I'd love to have you there. If you register, I will send you the replay. So if whether you're able to make it or not, if you can't make it, just register. I'll send you the replay. I promise I'll send it to you via email so that you can have it. Because I think I've got some really valuable tools that will help you define where you need to direct your energy. So, and and just remember, right? You don't have to carry everything, okay? The world is not going to end if you let some things go. The world is not going to end if you put some things down. And especially, what's already behind you, it's okay to carry for a while, right? But it will be weight that will edge out tools that you need to reach your best future. So that's all I have for you today, guys. I hope some of that was useful. I know that a lot of this was just kind of, sometimes I like to provide you with very detailed frameworks and very specific steps and things like that today. Today was a little bit wider, but it's just what was on my heart and what was on my mind today. And I done already. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Kitty cat. I really needed this. Again, thank you. You're so welcome, Emily. You're so welcome. I'm so honestly just honored that anybody shows up for this. Yeah, I know it's kind of a vanity thing, but these are the things that are on my heart, and I just want you to know them so badly. I just want you to know that there's somebody in your corner. There's always somebody in your corner. And that even when it feels like, here, I'll tell you a dumb thing. Like for me, I grew up watching Mr. Rogers, and Fred Rogers. He's one of my heroes, and he's one of the people that I feel like, even though I never knew him personally, he's one of those people that I feel like have been formative in shaping the person that I am. And the thing that I loved about that guy is that I want to be is that he was always in your corner, whoever you were, and whatever you'd done, and kind of wherever you were, he was the guy that was there for you. He was there in your corner, and so I just want to be that for people. I want you to know that that I'm here, here for you. I'm cheering you on, even when I'm not on camera, even when we're not talking. But I do. I think about you, and I pray for you. I hope that's okay. And you are in my heart, even if I don't know you yet. You're in my heart, and so thank you so much. Ben, I wanted to tell you that video you sent me about family issues I sent to my sister and my mom. My mom did too. It's a blessing to have an in your corner person. So good. So good, so good, so good. All right, my friends. Well, listen, then I will leave you as I leave you every week. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you each and every week. Thank you for showing up. And just remember, your future is bigger than you can possibly imagine. And there is a moment of greatness that is just waiting for you. But it's not going to come for you. You have to pursue that moment. So get out there, toss that stuff out of the backpack that you don't need to carry, and be great. I'll see you next time.
I've been caught in the whispers, lost in my doubts, tangled in stories I can't live without. But there's a fire, it's burning inside, calling me forward, I can't run and hide. It's not about perfection, it's about the climb, breaking through the limits, one step at a time. With every breath, I'm closer to the dream, a life that's bold, a heart that gleams. Be great, stand beginning, not the end of the plan. Through trials and heartache, I've learned how to fight to shape my tomorrow. I start with tonight. It's not about the shadows, it's about the